Hello everyone. My topic for this presentation is managing the performance of remote employees. So why it is important? It is important to remove bias in performance management for remotely working employees, to give feedback on performance of the employees, increase sense of belongingness among offsite employees so that they don't feel isolated or cut off from the employees whom we interact daily or whom we have one-on-one face conversation every day, and to evaluate the performance of the employees who we don't have on our on-site campus. Set goals and expectations. Clarify the goals and guidelines of term working together. Whatever goals and guidelines we want to have with our off-site employees, like whether we are not interacting with them daily, but they should know what all the terms and working conditions they have to agree with the organization, or what guidelines they are supposed to follow, because even though we don't have them on our campus, they are still part of our organization. So same guidelines and protocol follows for those employees as well. Appropriate mode of communication among offsite and on-site employees. There might be some projects and work where offsite and on-site employees have to work together. So there should be appropriate mode of communications like emails, phones, or video conferences, whatever suits their mode of working and timings. But there should be a clear guideline of working together on these specific kind of projects. So schedule a performance planning meeting. So considering an offsite employees, their working hours, or they might be working from a different country where there might be a time difference and all other stuffs. So there should be a planned meeting whenever you try to interact with an offsite employee. So always use video calls rather than calls or emails, because they somehow may feel isolated because they are not part of the organization, or they don't sit under the roof of their organization for which they are working. So once we have video calls, we can have interaction with those employees face to face, have more conceptual relationships with them, get to know each other face to face, which create kind of a bond to those employees with the organization. Always make note of important conversations. So whenever you go with the conversation of with an offsite employee, try to make some notes, like if they mention about any kind of need or challenge that they are facing, we should always keep a note of the stuff. Establish accountability by setting goals. Always let them know in a friendly manner, like this is the goal that you're working on, this is the timeline that we are looking for, so that they don't feel like pressurized or stuff, but there should be a clear cut conversation about the goals and expectations. So clarity on method on evaluation. So it's our responsibility to make sure that they know how their performance is going to be evaluated, and we should make sure like it's going to be the same method that we will follow as we follow for the on-site campus, and it will be no different mode that we are going to consider in their evaluation. It's going to be the same method in both the cases. Managing performance and communication. So constant contact to keep remote employees motivated. It is very important that we keep in constant touch with them and get to know them, and it is preferably notice that it is good to keep a video call contact, or where you can have face-to-face contact rather than going on phone calls or emails. Also, always try to have a contact through them on video calls where you guys can have face-on-face interactions. So provide ongoing feedback. Always let them know how they are doing their work, what company is looking for, or what the project they are going to work on, so that they know their work is being getting recognized. Always ensure to schedule the conversation. Whenever you end a conversation, let them know like you are always available for them. Uh, Tell them any schedule fits as per as they can as per their convenience. Where whenever they want to talk to you, let them know you are available for them, and always schedule a conversation according to them, so that whenever they get time, let them know they can contact you and have a conversation with them. Conservative feedback, prefer face to face. So conservative feedback, or we normally call it as a negative feedback. So whenever you have any kind of a negative feedback or a negative comment, like if they are not working according to the expectations that the company have, it is always preferable to have a face-on-face conversation, because when you have a video call conference or video talk and you let them know about any negative feedback, it may adversely affect their morale and they may get demotivated and their work may get affected, which is eventually going to affect the company. So it is always good to have a face-on-face conversation whenever we are going to talk about any kind of a negative feedback. So include enthusiastic or supportive text. So whenever we are going to end a conversation or whenever we are going to have a stop to any conversation, always end it with any kind of a supportive message, like let them know whatever project you have earlier done was a very good, or whatever project you have worked on, management really liked it, so that they know like we are noticing their work, whatever they are doing, and company is always there to help them. So tracking performance from far. So it's kind of a use, gather, write down, address, and get. So talking about use, always use tailored approach, because whenever you are going to interact with them, their setup is going to be different. They might not be having the same resources and information that an on-site employees have. So always go for a tailored approach that fits their criteria of working and that support their module of workstation. Gather detail for performance report during team meetings. So whenever you get time or whenever you get a chance to have a face-on-face meeting with them, or whenever they come to a team meetings on site, always try to make details of their performance, how they interact with other employees. So try to gather data about their behavior, how they manage or how they question other employees or members, and how they react to their questions or feedback. Always write down important feedback whenever you have any conversation with an employee and ask them, hey, how do you feel about that ex employee? Or how do you feel working with that employee? So write down feedbacks and stuff for your information so that you get to know how they are working. So address concern of limited information to remote employees. So whenever you are talking to any kind of a remote employee, you are always aware of the fact that the information assessed for them is very limited. So whatever regular routines are going on or regular processes are going on outside campus are more accessible to the campus that we have under the roof. Whereas concerned to offsite employees, they have a very limited circle of information. So they might not be aware of the regular projects or regular guidelines going on with the organization. So get feedback from others. Always keep it confidential. So try to get as much as feedback from other employees about the remote employees, and never disclose those employees. That's kind of a very confidential stuff for HR department. So giving feedback. Always notice behavioral changes. So whenever you try to have a conversation with them, if you feel like there is some significant change in their behavior, or they are not talking in the same tone, or there's some stuff that is not same or might have changed negatively as compared to previous conversation, always try to notice such kind of small changes. Effective method, video conferencing. So always give them feedback. Like this is a very important point emphasized again and again in this whole chapter. Like go for video conferencing, try to have as much as contact with the remote employees on video conferencing and video calls. So use compassionate tone. Always talk with them as a friend. Let them know you are there. Let them know you know their problems or you are there to address their problems. Always try to use a compassionate tone. So pay attention to their timing. So whenever you have to give a feedback, either especially in case of negative cases, avoided giving before any important meeting or before any important deadline that they have to meet. So deliver criticism in writing. It is always important to give negative feedback in writing and also the criticism as well. Always make an eye contact with them whenever you have a conversation on video or wherever. Try to make an eye contact and have an open body language. Include positive comments. It is very important to always include positive comments in a conversation to keep them motivated. Listen actively to responses. Whenever they are speaking, you should be active learner to have some notes from the conversation. You might sometime get to know whatever problem they are feeling, or either they are feeling demotivated or any that kind of a stuff. You can recognize that from their point of conversation. Either give plan to fix problem or take feedback. So if you feel like there's any problem or they have shared any problem knowingly or unknowingly during conversation, give them plan to fix that problem, or give them or try to take any feedback from them if they are facing any kind of a problem. Conducting the appraisal discussion. So treat everyone equally. Less physical interaction should not be a constraint. Again, if we don't have them on our campus, so that should not be a criteria considered to give them a low appraisal or any constraint considered in that thing. Avoid self-assessment. Try to avoid self-assessment in kind of offsite employees, because they might take credit or something and may omit taking responsibility of doing something wrong. So always try to avoid self-assessment in that case. Conduct the conversations with care. So whenever you try to have an appraisal discussion with them, either positive or negative, try to keep it as short and crisp as possible and have the conversation with care so that you do not demoralize or demotivate the employees, which is again going to affect the organization at the end. So this was all about this presentation, and it is very important to give importance to video conferencing and having positive and motivational conversations with the remote employees. Thank you.